Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings you live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part? There's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Hey, guy, I'm so proud of you guys, man. All right, the resilience of everybody in this room, that's the games that build you to do special throughout the year. You guys, 2-0, man. All right, we've gone on these back-to-back road trips. This is our 6th time now. All right, we're 6-0 in those games. Right.
Hey, small consistent steps in the right direction, lead to great results.
No, you're right.
Hey, we're on our way there, baby. 2-0.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Better Rivals podcast. My name is Oscar Aparicio, and this week, all hail the QB sneak. The 49ers survive a close one against the upstart Philadelphia Eagles and survive to get to 2-0. And with me this week, it's the Discord king himself, it's David Newman.
What a great idea that was. I feel like it worked out incredibly well today. It was a lot of fun hanging out with the elite Patreon community. If you want to be one yourself, patreon.com/betterrivals. You can do it. You can hang out with us on Discord.
If you're not sure what Discord is, you're not alone. David didn't know about it until 17 minutes ago, and now he is very, very good at it. But it's basically a chat program, a little bit like Slack if you use Slack for work. It's like if Microsoft Teams were good at its job, it would be a little bit like that. And it's good. It's just a community for the patrons to hang out, talk about football, talk about other stuff, and we chatted throughout the game. So it was good. It was good to connect with everyone. And thanks to all of you who are watching the live stream as it happens right now. You're getting the literal podcast as it happens, and then we'll post the podcast for everyone else. You'll probably, if you're hearing this in your ear holes, chances are you got it on your feeds on Monday morning. And so it's gonna be fun. This is gonna be our schedule throughout the rest of the year. Sundays, Thursdays, recap on Sunday, and then preview/deep dive stuff if we encounter anything else in the All-22 that we didn't kind of catch early on Thursdays. And so with that, let's get into it, because this was another tense one. Another close one, 17-11, which I feel like it's not, I don't know that it's scoregami. That's not the first 17-11 game ever, but it just feels like a very odd score because Sirianni went for 2 near the end. But the Niners got away. Our buttholes are clenched. I don't know that they've released quite yet, but here we are at 2-0 and tied with 3 other teams in the NFC West because the Titans actually beat the Seahawks. Hooray!
NFC
in overtime.
West, sending 4 teams to the playoffs. Let's go.
Let's do it. I was hoping for 3, but it might be 4. It definitely was, I think, a story about the defense. It was the question mark coming in. Could the defense actually hold down a team in the Eagles that looked like they were schemed up and coached up pretty well? Nick Sirianni's offense looked like it was getting Hurts into positive positions, and Hurts was really capitalizing where he could. And it turns out that that was still the case, but the Niners defense was still able to hold them down.
In so many ways, this game felt like the polar opposite of the week 1 game, right? It was just like in week 1, everything was clicking for the offense. Like they were just basically doing whatever they wanted to, whenever they wanted to. Everything they tried seemed to work. And then it was the defense that was a bit more shaky and less so when they had for most of the game, right? While the starters were in there. And then obviously things got a little crazy at the end, but it was a game that the 49ers dominated. It felt as it was happening like they dominated, and it just kind of ended up being a bit closer than you would have thought, right? Having watched the entire thing. This one was one where it honestly, to me at least, it felt like they should have lost. And they managed to come away with the win. And I think, a big part of that is kind of what they did and the improvement they were able to make defensively.
Especially after that first half. That first half, you go in, and I think it was like 3-0 or 7-3. And
7-3, yep.
And it was like, it feels like they should almost be down 2 scores. Yeah. And yet, I mean, you get the block field goal. This is basically, you're taking Philadelphia's best shot, and that best shot was worth 3 points, which is a testament absolutely to the defense. We had a big question about D'Amico Ryans and whether or not he would be a flexible kind of coordinator and whether he would stick to his, cover 3 single high stuff, or whether he would be a bit more versatile as we'd seen the 49ers defense under Saleh. And he was more versatile. It was a game plan that you would expect from a team that is like the 49ers were last year. They went with very little cover 3. They were pretty much exclusively 2 high and cover 1 looks with some zone pressure stuff in cover 3. But it was by and large effective, even though they got caught a couple times in man coverage with Jalen Hurts breaking contain and scrambling for some yardage and then some additional penalty yardage because Jimmy Ward decided to hit him.
Yeah, it was, I think, when we talked on the preview episode last week, it was basically, there was like 2 approaches, right, that we said that they could kind of go with, and they really used a hybrid of both, right? They did play a lot more quarters, especially, and just kind of some different 2 high looks in general, especially on early downs, they would go with that a lot. And then when they would go single high, it was because they were going man coverage, right? And again, the reason we expected man coverage a lot more, or that was on the table as an option, is because of the heavy RPO stuff, right? So the Eagles ran more RPOs than anyone in the league in week 1. And so that was, something that you expected to be a big part of their offense. And man coverage kind of eliminates the conflict for those defenders, right? So you don't end up in a situation where one defender has to choose between playing the run or playing his coverage assignment. Everyone is locked up in man coverage. All the receivers are accounted for, and then you have everybody else that's handling the run fit, right? So, it was, I think largely effective. I mean, you mentioned there were a couple plays there where Hurts was able to kind of hurt him with his legs and get some first downs and in some key situations, but beyond that, and then of course you had the 97-yard play to Watkins there that beat Demouy Lenoir. That was ugly, but like beyond that, like it was largely pretty good. I mean, I think they were a lot better in man coverage than I expected them to be. And I think Lenoir played really well in general. So just, I think they did a good job with that stuff. And overall they limited, the big play stuff. The safeties played great. So it was a good job.
Especially because there was a bit more stress put on the defensive backs. That's the part that I was worried about. Especially early on, the defensive line was not getting pressure. Hurts had a pocket, and even when he did get a little bit of pressure, he stood in there and he waited. He did not scramble. He did not seem like he was really going to get moved off of his spot. And he had a couple throws where he had someone in his face and was still able to throw a really, really good catchable pass. And overall, he was doing well. And so I thought, okay, this is not great for the defense because this is a 49ers defense that's predicated on pressure. You're going to be able to give the defensive back some help. And early on, the defensive line was not giving the 49ers defensive back some help, and they held up. Yes, you've got the big bomb to Deommodore Lenoir, but I think he's another 5th-round gem so far, 2 games in. There's still a lot to go, right? We had one good season of Mikaela Witherspoon. Everyone was ready to crown him, and now I don't even know where he is. He may be like on Seattle's practice squad somewhere, right? But, or no, he got traded somewhere.
Yeah, he's
Pittsburgh, that's right. So, there's still time. We're not saying that he is arrived or that he is the thing, but 2 games in, 5th-round rookie, he has performed really, really well. And he's doing the thing that we saw him do in college really well, which is use the sideline as an extra defender. And the play that where it was basically a completion, should have been a touchdown, but he was able to wall that wide receiver off and get him to step out of bounds. And then he kind of knew that and fell off a little bit. Just that spatial awareness was, I thought, really, really good. It was fairly savvy for a 5th-round, I think, rookie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is the key part. Like, I do think he was aware of what was happening. Like, that wasn't a suddenly like a good coverage play turned poor coverage play at the end, and he just got lucky and bailed out. Like, he knew where they're out in the field, and he knew that once that guy steps out of bounds, it's over. He can't come in and make a reception. And so, I think he knew that kind of his job was done on the play. Like, I mean, you just see Sherman do that a bit more aggressively at times. Like he would just, if guys were on the sideline, he would just go shove them out of bounds.
Shove them.
And then move on to something else, right? Because he knew that like, okay, this guy can't come in and do anything now. So he was great on that play. I mean, he had good coverage. I mean, Devonta Smith, tested him deep for one that he was in great coverage on. Like, I think, again, he had that one ugly play where he stumbles a bit and falls well behind, and that's going to happen at times. But beyond that, I think he looked very, very good.
I think you also had some good plays from Jaquaski Tart and Jimmy Ward. Both had some deep pass breakups that were, they got their head around, they got their hands on the ball. It was good plays from almost everyone in the secondary except for Josh Norman. Josh Norman had a couple of PIs, but honestly, with Josh Norman, that's a little bit to be expected at this point.
Josh Norman, grabby? Are you? No, stop it. Stop it.
I know. What are you going to do? But to be fair, after those penalties, he was largely quiet, which is all you can ask. Except for one play. Did you see the play where it seemed like he jumped and did a spin in the air on a tackle? It was very, very weird looking, but he jumped and he kind of jumped in, and I think the top part of him got hit and he kind of flipped around, and it was a very aggressive, non-impactful move. I'll have to go back and see if I can clip the play. But I think if this was a game where everyone was worried about the defensive backfield, a lot of the fears were there to be taken advantage of. The defensive line did not get much pressure. Jalen Hurts was dealing. And even though there was definitely some cuts, there were definitely some things that hurt. Overall, I think that defensive backfield held up fairly well.
Yeah, I think at one point there, the 90-plus yard or whatever it was more than half of what Hurts's total passing yardage was late in the fourth quarter or whatever it was. So they really didn't get a whole lot going. He did hurt them a couple times in scrambles, right? So on, again, pass plays, right, that break down, and he was able to get outside and pick up a few first downs that way. But he really didn't do a whole lot on designed runs. I think there was the one play I remember where they got a first down on his own read, where Bosa was the read defender over there.
Yeah, he got Bosa. Bosa knew it. He was mad about it afterwards.
Yeah, but other than that, they really didn't do a whole lot. I think it was later in that drive, there was a play that Fred Warner was able to kind of track him down for a short gain, and he didn't have any big, huge runs like he did in week one, right? Where it was just mentioned the absurd amount of yards before contact that he had on those week one carries, and he just really didn't have that available to him in this one, which was great.
Yeah, with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Jalen Hurts had about 167 yards passing. 91 of them, I think it was 91 or 96 yards, was the Bond Watkins. Basically, he had 76 yards otherwise. So over half with just 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And another game where going into the fourth quarter, the quarterback has less than 200 yards total passing, which is great. That is good pass defense. And if it were not for the offense being completely anemic, this could similarly be a blowout. Before we get to the offense, though, I want to talk a little bit about Javon Kinlaw. He was the other story coming into the week because we showed on the Patreon video the sliding door that was Zach Kerr and some of the interior defensive linemen. Zach Kerr was inactive this game. I think the coaches were tired of seeing that happen on film. And so they said, you know what, Javon Kinlaw, you're up. Zach Kerr, you're down. Is Kinlaw really the key that important to this defense? Because their run defense looked pretty good. He blocked the field goal, which is a special teams play, so that's a little bit different. But Is he really that important to this defense that makes him look that much better?
I don't know. I would be surprised if it was him single-handedly that made that big of a difference. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure that he played well. It wasn't something that I focused on a ton during the game, so it'll definitely be something that we kind of take a look at with the All-22 and kind of just see what those run fits look like in general, and whether they got better play from the linebackers there too, or whether it was just kind of more the defensive line shutting things down before it even had a chance to get up to the second level, right? So I think he certainly helped, it seemed like. Obviously things were a bit more cohesive up front, and they did a better job throughout most of the game containing that run attack. And I think, he's part of that, but I would be surprised if it was him coming in and making all of the difference between the week one and week two performance, right?
Now, before we get to the offense, we've got a brief word from our sponsors. This week's pod is brought to you by TickPick. 49ers football is finally back, and there's no need to exhaust yourself searching all over the internet to find 49ers tickets anymore. Because TickPick, that's TickPick, is the original no-fee ticket site, and the only one you'll ever need as your go-to for all NFL tickets. TickPick got rid of all those awful service fees that the other ticket sites charge, which lets them guarantee the best prices on all of their NFL tickets. Don't believe it? If you can find better prices for the same seats on another ticket site, TickPick will give you 110% of the difference in the purchase price. If you're looking to get tickets to the 49ers season opener, which happens next week, or maybe even a Week 7 game where a rookie quarterback may be starting after the bye if the Niners don't do well over the next 3 games, visit tickpick.com/rivals today and use promo code RIVALS to save $10 on your first order of 49ers tickets. That's tickpick.com/rivals, promo code RIVALS to save $10 on your first order.
Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings you live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part? There's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Hey guys, looking for a betting advantage this football season? You need to download BetQL, the only app you'll need to compare betting odds and make smart bets. Their best bet computer model scans over 350,000 unique bets per year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and gives you the reasoning behind why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from spreads, over-unders, and player prop bets. Don't want to use this model and prefer to do the research yourself? Well, BetQL has all the necessary tools for your betting research needs. Tools like line movement and sharp data on who the pros are backing, team summaries highlighting previous success against the spread and over-under, team lineup breaking news and injury status updates, and leaderboards to track how you stack up against others and to view your winning streaks. Better data, better bets. Head to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download BetQL. You can also head to try.betql.co/bluewire to get started now. Enter the discount code BLUEWIRE at payment checkout for 25% off any of their subscription offerings. Make sure to check out their offers page to find a special offer to receive a full free year of BetQL. Don't miss out on the chance to gain your betting advantage during this football season.
On offense, though, it looked like the Eagles front really disrupted the 49ers offense. And it was, early on, they did not have a first down in the first quarter, which is the first time that's happened to this team since 2016, week 10. So in the entirety of Shanahan's tenure, he has gotten at least a first down in the first quarter. Doesn't seem like a high bar to cross. And yet the Niners could not cross that bar in this game against the Eagles early.
It was not good. It was very ugly offensively. I think, and it started with their struggles on first down. They just could not get anything going on first down. And a lot of it had to do with, I think, some conservative play calling. I think they were just so run heavy on first down throughout this game. Basically, if you remove that 2-minute drive at the end of the first half, where obviously teams are going to be more inclined to throw the ball, they had 26 other first down plays throughout the game. They ran the ball on 19 of them. So it was just incredibly run heavy, and it wasn't successful. They generated positive EPA on those first down plays just 19% of the time. It was ugly. And again, for context for that number, usually for a solid offense, you're expecting over 50%. mid 50s, I would say. A really good game, you're talking 60 plus, something like that. So it was an ugly performance from them on first downs. And I think, there were a number of reasons why, but I think the play calling was big. And then obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo didn't give them a lot of confidence that they could throw the ball in those situations.
You mentioned the EPA bit, and I think it really helps put it into context, because sometimes we hear that number and it's like negative EPA. That's kind of an abstraction, it seems like. But really what that number means is that by running the ball in that situation, 8 of 10 times, you're actually making it more likely the other team scores. Like that's effectively what's happening at this point. You are making it more probable the other team scores in 8 out of 10 times in this game because of the conservative play calling and the lack of success overall. And that's what they saw. They saw the other team being more likely to score in the Eagles, and it just had some, a goal line stand, a great defensive play on like the modified Philly special in order to kind of stop them there at the end, a blocked field goal, the defense really stepping up, and then it allowed the offense to kind of get into rhythm. Early on, though, Jimmy Garoppolo, as you said, not great, Bob. His throws were off target. We've talked a lot about his inability to be, or his really declining accuracy since his 2017 spurt, where he was really incredibly accurate, especially in the intermediate areas of the field. That seemed to have declined and settled into a, like, you can kind of get it in the area of a wide receiver, but not necessarily super accurately. And we saw that in this game. I mean, you've got the 3rd and 11 outside throw to Mohamed Sanu. Early on, you knew it was going to be a day. When Mohamed Sanu was open, it's 3rd down, and just Sanu looks like he should be a model for Jumpman. Just like, up in the air, one hand, both his legs splayed, because that's where he's got to go get the ball, and it's nowhere near him. And that's where it started, and it just continued.
Yeah, it was the ball location was awful. I mean, it was just all over the place, and they basically stopped trying to throw downfield for large chunks of this game. Like, it was just seemingly screen after, like, there was, I swear, it was like several drives in a row where you were basically first down run for a gain of 1 or 2 yards, and then a second down screen that got fucked up somehow, and it was just like, and then suddenly you're in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, and Jimmy's not coming through, right? He's missing guys, and I think that's kind of the key thing, is because, while yes, I do think, and I'm sure we'll talk about this in a minute, like the Eagles front, I think, played well. They certainly disrupted things for this offense, and that was a big reason why things were so different offensively from last week to this week. But there were plays there. There were opportunities for this offense to take advantage and put some yards and some points on the board, and Jimmy was missing them. Like, again, you mentioned the one to Sanu early. There were 2 other throws. He had an overthrow to Ayuk, and the one that was behind Debo, that were both throws that should have been picked off. I mean, the Debo one especially was like, he was incredibly lucky that wasn't a pick six the other way.
The cardinal sin whenever you're throwing outside, the one thing you should never ever do in that situation is hang the ball inside. Like, if you're gonna miss, miss outside, miss high, but never hang the ball inside.
Miss like the Sanu throw, right? The Sanu throw, not a great throw, but a safe throw. So if you're gonna screw it up in a situation that can't come back and bite you, right? And you throw it behind. And that's just, again, asking for these defenders to take it back the other way. And he's very fortunate. I mean, Debo made a really great play to come back and essentially play DB and break that one up. And that was kind of what saved him on it. But yeah, and there was another one. It was a lot of those outbreaking routes, right? There was another one. They ended up in that 1st and 25 situation early, and he had Sherfield open on another deep out. It wasn't like all the way to the markers, but it would have definitely been enough yardage to like get them back on schedule and in a manageable second down situation. And again, like, wide open receiver, airmails it, doesn't even give the guy a chance. And yeah, at that point they basically, like I said, stopped kind of trying to throw the ball downfield for most of this game. I mean, they went heavy screens of his 22 completions. And so, yeah, I think that's the other thing that's tricky here too, is you see that final line, and I think he's 22 of 30 was the final completion numbers there.
We'll check with the research department.
Doesn't seem terrible, right? The 8 completions on 30 dropbacks, not awful. 10 of his completions were completed to receivers behind the line of scrimmage. He was 3 of 7 when targeting receivers 10 plus yards down the field. It just wasn't something that they were doing. I mean, he basically had two good throws that I'll give him some credit for. It was the seam that he had to Debo that really set up the score at the end of the first half, which was huge because, again, there was no way they should have entered halftime with a lead. Like, it was just absurd looking back on it that they managed to go in 7-3 there. And that was that throw was a big reason why. And then he had another one to Debo, which was on a late third down, the kind of dig route at the sticks that he threw over the middle and hit him. That was a nice, accurate ball and good timing there. And so, yeah, I mean, but other than that, like, everything he threw was underneath. Even the touchdown. The touchdown was a huge busted coverage. Like, the corner over there, they're playing like match coverage on that side. The outside corner just gets completely screwed and confused, like leaves Juwan Jennings wide open, like there's nobody around. And so it's just like literally throw it to this guy where there's not a single defender near him and put it on him, right? And so, yeah, it just was it was a really ugly game from Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, it was indeed 22 of 30. He averaged 6.3 yards per attempt. And part of that was by design. Shanahan did say in the postgame that they were folding in screens a lot, especially early. And it seemed that way, especially because early on in the game, I mean, you had the inaccurate throw 2 yards in front of Jimmy Garoppolo to Juszczyk right away to open in the first series. And then you had the drop pass to Debo. Shanahan said he was trying to take advantage of what the Eagles like to do on defense, which is be really aggressive with their defensive line, but be a little soft in coverage. So he was trying to take advantage of that. And that's why he did. Yeah, well, it didn't work early. And then eventually, like, that's all that you could really do. And so he was like, hey, you know what? Let's do that. Especially when they started basically because later in the game, it switched to run and screen, but that run was the toss play. And it was just the toss play with the same motion over and over and over. And like sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But overall, Jimmy Garoppolo ended up with 3.8 yards per attempt, which is the lowest of his career. And that is a combination of both what Jimmy was able to do as well as the game plan. But once you get into the end of the first half.
One second there. Yeah, so just kind of one final, we talked about on Thursday, right, on the preview episode about how low Jalen Hurts' average depth of target was, right? So basically, average depth of target, how far downfield on average are the guys you're throwing to, right? So it gives you a good idea of basically where these guys were throwing the ball, right? Are they pushing the ball downfield more? Are they throwing it underneath? Jalen Hurts was ridiculously low, the lowest figure in week one by like nearly a full yard. It was like 3.6 average depth of target. Jimmy Garoppolo in this game, 3.9. Like, again, it was, you can't look at that completion percentage number and just be like, oh yeah, he played pretty well. I mean, obviously there were some misses here and there, but you see the completion percentage and the no interceptions, and you just completely miss the mark on how he actually performed in this game, because he got lucky that he didn't have 2 interceptions, and nearly half of his completions were basically throwing it behind the line of scrimmage. Like it was just a very, it was a game plan that, well, I don't know if that was a plan going in, but it was a game that basically tried to make his impact as limited as possible.
Do you think that Jimmy is one of those players that really would do better in more of a wide open kind of like offense? Because I think about 2017 and those 5 games, and it was like just instinctual, kind of like didn't know too much of the offense, but he's just kind of slinging it and moving around, right? And in that 2-minute situation, and you think about the game against the Saints, and obviously these are the things that we remember. It might not be a representative sample, but it just feels like when he really gets dialed in, it's when he is playing empty, when he's playing fast, when he's playing shotgun, when he's doing those kinds of things. And I wonder if all the other things that Shanahan throws on top of Jimmy as a quarterback, to a certain degree, weigh him down. That's not to excuse Jimmy Garoppolo, because I think his performance in this game, especially on some of the ball location stuff, speaks for itself. But it did seem like he needed to almost get hit, or he needed to do something, and then he was locked in, and then it was like, okay, because that seam ball to Debo, I thought that was an interception. I legit, when I saw those 2 defenders, I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, okay. It was a hell of a turnaround. But yeah, it just seemed like he loosened up once they started throwing the ball and once he got a little loose.
Yeah, I get that sentiment. And I think there is probably there seems to be something with a lot of guys, right? That you get them in kind of some of those, you up the tempo a little bit, you get a little bit simpler, right? You're only choosing from a handful of play calls usually in those situations. The defense gets simpler. I mean, that's a big reason why a lot of college teams go up tempo so much, right? And try to push that pace. And so, I think there is something about that probably makes him comfortable. But I also have a hard time saying that he's like burdened with complexity in the normal structure of this offense. Like, the dude is given more open throws than anyone in this league to throw to. Like, and while I think it is a complex offense in terms of verbiage and likely adjustments and things like that, like in terms of the actual reads he's making and the concepts they're running from a passing standpoint, it's not difficult stuff. Like, there are so many of these plays where he's dropping back on play action. He's got like 2, maybe 3 guys even out in the route. And it's basically like, I'm going to make one check downfield and see if my guy's there. Or I'm dumping it off to my check down. And that's like such a large portion of his passing attempts, like relative to the rest of the league, right? So I think he is given a ton of easy throws, and I think right now the accuracy is the number one thing that holds him back. Like, he is missing these guys who are open, and you can't do that in this offense.
Well, I think that the despite all of that, the Niners had 2 drives over 90 yards, which is the first time that's happened for them since 1992 against the Miami Dolphins. Those drives were impressive. And it really is almost like an exercise in restraint, where it's like a coach typically you would think would want to take a shot, would want to take a deep shot, would want to get aggressive. And Shanahan's like, no, I'll just keep doing this for 4 yards. We can do this. Look, do you see Kyle Juszczyk? Do you see this man? How else are we going to get him the ball if not for 4-yard runs and quarterback sneaks? Quarterback sneak, though, it is a very, very effective play on 3rd and a yard or 4th and a yard. I'm here for all the quarterback sneaks.
Jimmy had 11 carries. Now, 3 of them are at the end or kneel downs, right? So 8.
We also had a couple scrambles in there.
Yeah, so like rushing attempts. It's just like you look at the box score, right, and you see Jimmy Garoppolo, 11 rushing attempts, and that's like probably the last time you're going to ever see that happen in his career.
Man, look, all I'm saying is week 1, Jimmy Garoppolo's like, okay, you draft Trey Lance because he can throw deep. I can throw deep. I'm going to go ahead and throw this duck over here to Deebo Samuel. And yeah, just come at me, bro. You got a running quarterback in Trey Lance? Get out of here. 11 attempts. Let me show you what's up. 11 attempts and a win. Let's bring it home. He's just,
I don't know if you heard this, but the 49ers now are 24-8 when Jimmy Garoppolo is starting quarterback. So I can take that, and now I can't make any complaints about Jimmy Garoppolo's play because all my guy does is win.
I see your meaningless stat, and I raise it by saying that whenever Jimmy Garoppolo has more than 10 carries, the Niners win. Feed Jimmy. Feed Jimmy. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, God. All right.
All right, let's get to the quick hits as we round out the reaction to the win in Philadelphia. First up, Deebo Samuel now has 282 receiving yards through 2 weeks. The franchise leaders for the 49ers, Bernie Casey, 288 yards over the first 2 weeks. Didn't even know he played for the Niners or who he is.
No idea who that guy is.
Yep. I feel bad that I don't. And 2, Jerry Rice, 285 yards over the first 2 weeks. 3, Deebo Samuel. Injury note, Deebo Samuel. He had cramps, but he should be fine. Seemed like he was fine. So did Juszczyk, also came out injured. Not a big deal. Trey Sermon, though, that one looked like a big deal.
Maybe more of a big deal.
Yeah. I've never seen. I don't know that I've seen a bell get rung twice in midair and then a third time on the ground when making contact.
Yeah,
like that was it was bad. It was real bad. Elijah Mitchell also has a dinged up shoulder. The team hopes it's just a stinger and is not anything serious. So he came back in the game, but he's going to get an MRI. Hopefully that's nothing. Jermichael Hasty also has an ankle injury. At this point, who's left? Like, this is, I mean, if let's say that Mitchell's fine and Hasty's out for a week, I mean, it's really going to be plug and play at this point. I think Alfred Morris is out there somewhere. Like, maybe he's ready.
Don't worry. I'm going to go right after this. I'm going to turn my phone off, that setting that blocks unknown callers. So, you can hit me up. I'll be able to get it. Don't worry.
Bro, you've been training. You've been hitting that distance running.
That's right. I'm in shape.
Right.
Best shape of my life.
The contrast in aggressiveness between Nick Sirianni and Kyle Shanahan was interesting because Nick Sirianni he played to win the game. He went for 2 late in the game so that if he got the ball back, he was going to go win.
Like completely unexpected and absolutely terrified me.
Yeah, because he actually knows, like, yes, I'm going to win the game. And if I don't make it, then like, hey, we're going to have to go for 2 anyway, so let's do it, right? I mean, and he goes for 4th downs. In more high leverage situations, Kyle Shanahan went for a 4th down once in a situation where he needed to, but that 4th and 7 that he didn't go for it when they were already crossed into the Eagles territory. Surrender Index on Twitter basically has the situations all the way back to 1999 in 4th down situations, and put that decision in the 99th percentile of most cowardly decisions since 1999. Given the score, given the situation, given the probability of making it, it just is a conservative call.
Yeah, it sucks. Especially when you see that sort of discrepancy, right? The other situations that you saw, right, where when there was like back-to-back drives, or maybe it wasn't back-to-back, but it was like pretty close proximity where you had the Eagles that were backed up. Or yeah, it was because it was right after the stop down there. So it was like you had the Eagles backed up in their own territory, right? What's the first thing that they decide to do? Shot play down the sideline, 90-plus yard pass, and suddenly, you're inside the opponent's 5. The 49ers, after that, get the ball right, and they hand it off twice. And it's just like, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. And it's like, on one hand, it is completely frustrating and sucks to see Shanahan continue to make those decisions, though I will give him credit. I mean, you mentioned the 1 4th down. I think so far through the first 2 games, like he's generally been, at least in the absolute like no-brainer 4th and short ones, he's at least been going for those ones. So it's like he's crossing that like bare minimum threshold there on 4th down decisions, and so like that's been positive. But it's been really conservative. But on the other end, like I see how Jimmy Garoppolo is playing, and it's like, fuck, I kind of get it. Like I get if you're gonna roll with him, like I don't trust him to make these throws in these situations. Like why should Shanahan?
Last 2 or 3 notes. Number 1, Nick Bosa, 2 games, 3 sacks, I believe. I put them down differently in the notes here, but I think the research department corrected me preemptively. We've only played 2 games. And Bosa, I believe, now has 3 sacks, which is good. He's back, and it's good to have him back. Last 2 notes here in the quick hits. The NFC Best update. The Arizona Cardinals are probably going to be even more of a problem than they were last year. They got into a flat-out shootout, and Kyler Murray is continuing to play well. They ended up squeaking the game out at the very end because the Vikings missed a field goal. It was a 41-yard field goal that they missed at the end of regulation.
That was a fun game.
It was a very, very fun game. But, man, there were a couple of just bonkers throws from Kyler Murray. They are going to be an issue. Lastly, I really do hope that Aqib Talib and Gus Johnson call a Niners game at some point this season because that was a fun duo. It was fun to listen to them. I love the excitement that Gus Johnson brings. And Aqib Talib breaking down what was happening, especially in the secondary, was absolute chef's kiss. It was wonderful.
Yeah, totally agree.
Last bit here. This is from our friend Nick Wagner at ESPN. This is the 5th time in franchise history that the 49ers have started 2-0, with both wins coming on the road. The last time was in 2019. The Niners have made the Super Bowl each of the previous 3 times. They have opened up the year 2-0, with both of those games being road wins. So I think
that math doesn't add up.
We have so they've done it 5 times, but it's the last 3 times that they've made the Super Bowl.
Okay, sure, whatever. All right,
yeah,
fine.
I think really what we've done here is we've established a map for dominance. Run Jimmy Garoppolo 10 or more times, and you will win. Now that they've won twice to open the season, they're guaranteed to go to the Super Bowl. I think this is
we'll see you guys in late January. A little preview action, and we'll do the thing. Yeah,
it'll be great. I think that does it for the reaction pod for this week's edition of the Better Rivals podcast. We'll be back on Thursday with a deep dive with a preview of Week 3, game against the Green Bay Packers. Hope everyone is having a wonderful evening. Hopefully you don't burn any more burgers, in case you've done that thus far. And if you're wanting to join the live stream on the Patreon, tell them where you can find that, David.
patreon.com/betrivals. Get in on that action. Buy us a beer. Things have been a lot of fun to start the season. I mean, we've got, again, the 2 shows that we're going to be live streaming that you're going to get access to, and you'll get early access to those before they're up on the regular podcast feed. We're going to have our kind of weekly breakdown video up Wednesday, usually kind of midweek there. And then, we got the Discord server where we're able to interact with everybody, and it's been a lot of fun being on that. So, again, patreon.com/betrivals. Get in on the action.
You can always find me on Twitter @BetterRivals. Thanks again for tuning in to the live stream. Thanks again for downloading the episode. Make sure to subscribe. All the places. Leave reviews if you love us. Ignore it if you don't. Thanks again. And as always, go Niners.
I'm Andre Knott, and on my new podcast, Brownstown, I'm chronicling the sometimes sad but always hilarious story of the last 20 years of Cleveland Browns dysfunction. With the voices of Jim Donovan, Brady Quinn, Tim Couch, Romeo Crennel, Josh Cribbs, TJ Ward, Phil Savage, and many more, we'll track how unbelievably bad decisions and bad luck kept this team down for way too long. So join us as we go tailgating in the Muni Lot and diving deep into the dog pound. You're going to Brownstown.